Hi, Heather. Hi, audience.
Hey Mike, how are you doing?
Fine, and yourself?
Doing good, thanks. What's new with you?
Let's see. So it's been 2 weeks since the last live stream. Nothing real big to report. As I probably mentioned before, but I'm always have some kind of hobby or another. And lately I have been back to mountain climbing.
Oh,
And contrary to popular belief, Vegas is really an outdoor paradise. There's really great scrambling and technical rock climbing here. And I and
wait,
I
wait, wait, wait. Let's get you back up here. Oh, we need the full screen. There you go.
So there's this club here called the 52 Peak Club, and they challenge you to climb 52 different peaks in the greater Vegas area. And every time you do one, you get a card, and you can only get one card per trip. So it's like 52 adventures. And so far I'm up to 10, and yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Oh,
Every experience is fun.
that was a lot of cards right there. How many cards was that?
10.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, like I did
Sweet.
one yesterday. Yesterday I did Magic Mountain, not to be confused with the seven Magic Mountains. So here's the card for that. And this one was a pretty short and sweet one. It only took about 3 hours to do, but after you got close to this mountain here, it was a very steep climb up involving ropes and chimneys and chutes and stuff like that.
Cool. Right on. So, do you have another mountain that you're planning on climbing here pretty soon?
I'm doing well. I happen to have my calendar right here in front of me.
Ooh.
So on Saturday, I'm doing Bonanza Peak. So we're starting to do stuff around Mount Charleston because it's getting too hot here, and and most of the snow is melted on Mount Charleston. And then on Wednesday, I'm doing Mount Wilson, which is an ace. That's the highest peak in Red Rock, and it's an all day thing. And then I've got a couple things planned in May already. But looking at the big picture, I'm hoping to go back to Colorado this summer and do some more 14ers.
Oh, cool. Right on. Ah, that's exciting. I bet you're so excited you could start hiking more mountains again.
Oh, I'm not the one to, I kind of live day by day and don't really look forward to things that much.
Well, I'm looking forward.
Nothing has been specifically planned out about Colorado. So, yeah, this is something I hope to do. It's not officially planned.
Well, I'm looking forward to doing this trivia that you have going. What is our trivia for today?
Nothing
Wait,
planned today, I'm
trivia?
afraid.
Oh man, I had it in my head that we had trivia. Okay. Well, questions?
Yeah, let's just jump right into the questions. Well,
Awesome.
before we do that, anything new in your life?
Um, just doing Vegas Aces stuff. We got a new website up and everything, so I'm really stoked about that. And we are hiring. So if you are interested, or anyone watching interested, we are hiring for a director of operations. We are stopping our acceptance of applications tomorrow, Friday the 23rd. And then we are going to start interviews the following week. So director of operations for Vegas Aces.
Wow, director of operations.
Yep. So that's
Okay,
pretty
get
much
those
it.
applications in, guys.
So let us go. What do you want to do, the peanut gallery or the forum?
Let's go to the peanut gallery first.
Okay.
So what do you got for me?
First question of the day was from High Math, and he asked us about an hour before the show started. What software do you use to simulate the 1,000 spins or hands towards the end of your betting strategy videos?
I do my own programming. I do it in C++, and I use a Mersenne twister for the random numbers. I use a Fisher-Yates shuffling method. So yeah, I roll everything myself. I don't use software off the shelf for my game analysis at all. It's all me.
Okay, cool. Next question is from David. I am staying at the Golden Spike next week. And what is a good place for video poker in that area?
Hmm. Um, a good source for that is vpfree2.com. That'll show you the best games at all the downtown casinos. But I think the El Cortez is probably going to be the best.
Very, very cool. Next up is from, let's see here. This is from Eric. Can you go over some advantages and disadvantages of playing full pay multi-line video poker, one line versus 3 or 5 or 10? Thank you.
It depends on the reason that you're playing. If you are playing strictly as an advantage play, then I would do the full 10 play and bet as much as you can, as long as you're comfortable with the risk. Now, if you're playing something like, say, 9-6 jacks or better, where you don't have an advantage, but it's just a small disadvantage, then it kind of depends if you like variance or not. I dislike variance, so if you dislike variance like me, then I would play the 10 play at whatever denomination that you're comfortable with. If you do like variance, then I would play 3 play at a higher denomination.
Cool. All very, very good advice.
Thanks.
Next up is from Billa Yang. Are 4 to an inside straight a no-go for every VP game out there?
No, it's the correct hold in Deuces Wild, assuming that there's nothing better to hold.
Okay. And
there might be other situations, but I don't have every strategy memorized.
Okay. And if you guys are watching, if you have a question for Mike Shackelford, the Wizard of Odds, please put it in the chat and we will get to it as soon as we can. Sometimes we are not able to get to all of the comments or questions. So if you put it in early, we have more chance of getting to it. Next up is from the same person. Are Native American casino slots and VP machines RNG and EPROM audited and regulated similar to the major markets like Vegas?
Okay. It's going to depend upon the state, and some states are more regulated than others. And some tribes are only allowed to do what's called Class 2 slots, which I hate. But Class 2 slots have to be based on the draw of bingo balls, and there also must be some sort of a competitive element to the game with other players. So what the slot makers do that deal with Class 2 slots is they play a bingo game behind the scenes, and maybe you win something according to the pattern that you covered on the card. So let's say that the pattern that you covered says that you win, say, 8 times your bet. Then they will display something on the screen in the form of a familiar slot machine like Texas T that pays 8. And so the player will, it will feel to the player like he's playing a regular Las Vegas slot machine, but it's really a bingo game. And how did I get off on that? But either way, so RNG stands for random number generator. EPROM stands for erasable electronic. I'm not sure. I don't remember what the EP stands for, but the ROM stands for read-only memory.
At least you pronounced it right. I just spelled it out. I was like, I don't even know. I'm just spelling it out.
Okay, but what an EPROM chip is okay, so with video poker and slot machines, the slot manager has some flexibility in terms of how stingy or loose the game is. And let's say that he wants to make his slot machines stingier. All he has to do is to put in a different EPROM chip. And in video poker, that would dictate, say, a different pay table. Same with video Keno. And slots, it would dictate a different set of reel strips. And this is something that doesn't really concern the player very much. So, getting to the regulation issue, every tribe will say that they're regulated, but they're regulated by themselves. So it's kind of like the fox regulating the hen house. Maybe on a small matter, whatever regulatory agency would, maybe give it a fair hearing. But I think if anything big came along, I tend to think it's going to go to the casino's way. Just my opinion. So yeah, that question covered a lot of different things, but I will say that I'm most familiar with the tribal casinos in California. I really think those are very legitimate. They get their machines from the big slot makers like IGT and Aristocrat. For the most part, they are class 3, which means the normal slot machines. I think there is some limit, like a particular casino, they may say you can have no more than 3,000, but they probably don't want more than 3,000 anyway. So that's that. I could probably talk about that one the whole show, but that's as far as I'll take it.
Okay, sounds good. So our next question comes from Damien. When playing the don't pass in craps, would I still get under 1% house advantage if I only play single odds instead of 6 times odds?
That's a good question. Let's do some math real quick here. So the house advantage on the don't pass is 1.35. And the average bet size you're going to be making, taking 1 times odds, is, let's just say it's 1.5. No, you're going to be making the odds bet 2/3 of the time. So let's say that the average bet is 1 2/3. So we take 1.35 and divide that by 1.67, and we get about 0.8. So so my quick math shows me that yes, indeed, the combined house edge would be under 1%, and in fact about 0.8%.
Awesome. Well, we are just breezing through all of these. Our next one comes from High Math. I am currently working on finishing my bachelor's degree in applied math. Once I graduate, do you have any ideas of how I might use my education to promote ethical and responsible gambling? Great question.
Yeah, first of all, not that you asked, but I would recommend you look at taking your career in the direction of being an actuary. That's what I did. There's always a need for actuaries out there. It's a very well-paying profession. I think it's fairly low stress. So definitely consider that, but that's not really what you were asking. In terms of ethical and responsible gambling, that's certainly what I have been preaching for 24 years now. So how can you do that? It's easy to preach that, but how do you get people to listen to you? You can always make a website and shame casinos that are not acting ethically and responsibly. For example, there used to be a really good website called The Bear Growls, and that website cast shame on any casino that was doing something that the creator of that website, Al Rogers, thought was not right. And it was a great website. Wish he had kept it up, but he gave it up. And so yeah, you might try to follow in his footsteps and do something like that.
Cool. Great advice. Next up is from Technics. Do random number generators, hand shuffle cards, and automatic shufflers have the same variance to normal probability?
Try to think what he meant. I have to move the camera to read it.
Number generators, hand shufflers, and automatic shufflers, do they all have the same variance to normal probability?
Okay, what I think he's asking is, do games that use an electronic shuffler of some type have the same odds as a hand shuffle game? And there the answer is absolutely yes. And So the odds are the same, the variance is the same. You know, these shuffling machines are really very good. In fact, they're probably even better than a hand shuffle. And I am sorry, let me get rid of that call. So that is my answer to that.
Fantastic. And while we were waiting for Mike to do that, remember, if you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will get to them as soon as we can. We can't get to all of the questions because we usually have more questions than we have time to answer. So the sooner you get your question in, the more likely it is that we will have an answer for you. Okay, so let's go back to Mike. There we go. Okay, so our next question comes from Hellmage. Have you ever gotten your money out of Wixiplay?
Nope, absolutely not. For those who don't understand what he's asking about, I was speaking about ethical gambling. Is I got cheated by an internet casino called Wixiplay, and I proved it. I have a video that documents them cheating me, and I posted it on YouTube, and then I posted a second video answering some questions that I got about the first video, and nope, they absolutely banned me and seized my money. And as far as I'm concerned, they still owe me about $1,000. But you know, that's me. That's the kind of person I am. It cost me $1,000 to point my finger at this casino and prove that they were cheating. And, I think most people would say, I'm not going to waste my money doing that. Just let them cheat. But, no, but exposing unethical gambling is really important to me. And if any of you have some good evidence that anyone out there is cheating, please let me know and I'll look into it.
Cool. And if you guys do have that, they could go to your website and go to the contact form on the website and get a hold of you that way.
Yep.
Cool. So our next question comes from the same person, Hellmage, or Mage. Have you checked out the new Boyd Casino in Fremont? Is it a fair place to play blackjack and VP?
Do you know what he's talking about? I haven't heard of a new casino. Do you think he's talking about the Circa?
Probably.
But that's not a Boyd casino.
Nope. But it's the only new casino down there.
Casino in Nevada is a fair place to play. It's a very regulated state.
Yeah. Oh, but boom, boom, we're done. That was easy.
Are we caught up?
Nope, not caught up. We have a ton more questions. Do you want to go to any forum questions or any other questions?
Yeah, why don't we change channels and go to the forum?
Sounds good.
And where was that page? I don't have too much from the forum today. Okay, ask me another one while I bring up the correct page.
Sounds good. So this one comes from Anyone Can Cook. Obviously, they've never tasted my food because I cannot cook and I burn up kitchens. Have you ever come across a winning roulette strategy?
No, that one's easy.
Yes,
absolutely
don't play.
Not. There's no such thing as a winning roulette strategy. You just cannot. Not only can't you overcome that house advantage, you can't even dent it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Someone made a comment about something we were talking about last time about getting asked for your social security number when you cash in chips. And this person said that at the casino he's familiar with, they will ask for a social security number if someone is cashing in for more than $3,000 or more. And if they refuse to do it, they will still do they will still honor the chips. But if that person does multiple cash outs in the same day that go over 10,000, then they will insist on the social security number before they cross that $10,000 point. So, okay, so here's a question. Gilles Maire, and I always like to say thanks, Gilles Maire. He always writes a topic list for the shows, and it makes it much easier for me to post the video on my website. So he asks, why do you suppose that gaming tables for Pai Gow Tiles are so hard to find in Macau? From what I hear, it's actually easier to find a game of Caribbean stud poker. Even casinos owned by American companies who offer Pai Gow in Vegas don't seem to do so in the Chinese gaming mecca. P.S. Ask Heather for an update on her book. Okay, I'll go first. So, yeah, the short answer is I don't know. People like different games in different places. Like I've been to Argentina and Uruguay, and the Asian players there love roulette. Why? Just, I don't know. That's just what they like down there. And people tend to like what other people like. And I guess that in Macau, despite it being a Chinese game, tiles just never caught on. And, maybe it's the kind of game that people like to play at home, like against each other, like backgammon rather than in a casino. But he's absolutely right. I've been to Macau twice, and it is hard to find a tiles game. They had one at the Lisboa and another one at one of the rinky-dink Stanley Ho casinos. But the really big ones don't have any at all. So it's kind of surprising. Okay. So that's as far as I can take that one. Let's see what's next. Heather, okay, what's your answer to his inquiry on your book?
I would have totally been fine if you just kept going and completely have forgotten about that question.
No, you're on the spot.
So I, at the moment, am stretched too thin, and I admit it. I am doing way too much at once. So I am having a really hard time working on the book because I am trying to do client stuff, do stuff with YouTube, do stuff with the website, so on and so forth. That's part of the reason why we hired a new web designer and why we're hiring a director of operations. So that way I could start delegating more, and then I could put more of my time into writing the book so I can get it done one day, because I swear to God, I'm finishing that one day.
What's going to be the title of the book?
I have a horrible working title, and I need a new title, and I have no clue what to do. But the working title right now is The Ultimate Guide to Being a Casino Dealer. Worst title in the world. So I'm definitely going to need a new one. I just have no clue what it's going to be.
Yeah, I think that is kind of overselling it a bit. Like, I don't like books like The Ultimate Guide to Roulette, The Ultimate Guide to Blackjack. It's like saying, my opinion is the best and nothing else matters. There's a lot of good books on every subject, and that's why I kind of have a, my book doesn't have a title that promises that this is an easy way to beat the casinos, as many other gambling books do. So I would just say something. I would just call it something like Heather's Guide to Being a Casino, to Being a Dealer, something like that. That's cool. Yeah, I figure we'll figure it out one day. But yeah, I agree. It's just an awful, awful name. I just couldn't think of anything else. Yeah, it kind of comes down to what you value more, money or honesty. And I'm not saying that The Ultimate Guide to Being a dealer is a dishonest title, but I have so many books on my shelf. Let me get an example. Hold on right there. Where is a good example? Okay, here's a good example. Okay. So look at this book right here. And I'm not trying to shame Henry Tamburin. He's a friend of mine. But if you saw this book in the bookstore, what do you think you would find inside of it? How to win. Right. So you see these people running with a bag of money, like they just played craps for a short time and left with their winnings. Mm-hmm. There is nothing in this book that tells you how to do that. This is just a basic book on craps. It says the rules and, the house advantage, and it talks about video craps and tournaments and stuff like that. So there's nothing in this book that's incorrect. It's just that the title does not match with what's inside of it. They're trying to sell it. Right, but I think he's making a false implication that this book is going to tell you how to make money in craps. It does not do that. And personally, speaking for me only, I will take honesty over money any day, but to each his own.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so should we move on to the peanut gallery?
Yes.
Okay, so our next question comes from, let's see here. This one is from David. Is everything going to be wide open May 1st, 100%?
I thought the date was June 1st.
It's June 1st.
Yeah.
May
So,
May 1st, they're going to 80%, and June 1st, we're going to 100%.
first of all, these occupancy percentages, I have never, not that I go to casinos a lot, but never once has one said we are already at our X% capacity. No, I've walked right in every single time. But what he's referring, go ahead.
I was going to say, with the occupancy, isn't that part of the reason why they cut the tables down from 6 players to 3 players, so you can only have 3 players at a table instead of 6? Because I know that's pretty detrimental to the casinos.
But they replaced those tables with more slot machines.
Oh.
So I think that you can pack in more players per square foot with slots than with table games. So if anything, I think that would cut the other way.
Okay.
But I do think that they did that in part because of the restrictions to only 3 players at a table, that they probably said, this doesn't make economic sense for us to limit it to 3. Let's yank some of these tables out of here and put in slots. And then once things are fully back to normal, hopefully they'll bring some of the tables back. But they might not. They might say, I kind of like it this way. The fewer tables, the less headaches. So, but what he's referring to is that I hear that on June 1st, they're going to drop all restrictions relating to COVID. So casinos can go back to 100% capacity, and there'll be no more, and they can remove the barriers and stuff like that. And I assume restaurants can seat at full capacity, and shows will reopen, and blah, blah, blah.
No more mask mandate either.
Yeah. Now casinos can still choose to require these things and do these things. But as far as I know, June 1st is the date.
Yep. Okay, so our next question comes from Billy Yang. Were you ever an AP or
Video
were
poker.
you ever an AP with a player of your expertise?
So he's asking, so VP stands for video poker. So he's basically asking, was I ever a video poker advantage player? Yes, I would say that video poker was never my main thing, but it was one of the games in my bag of tricks. And when I did it, I couldn't beat video poker straight up, but so I would do is I would play in games that offered big point multipliers. As a good example, the Red Rock had 8-5 bonus poker, which returns 99.17%, and a point there at the time I played was worth 0.1%, but they had up to 10 times point days. So with those, so that would make the points worth 1.17%. But if you spent the points in the casino, then they went up to being worth 1.67%. So now we're at 100.84% return. And that doesn't even count the value of the mailers. I was getting, I don't remember exactly, but probably like $300 a month in mailers. So this was definitely a good play that and I played, I earned my quota of points in the high limit room there every month. And I got to president status, and which, by the way, is not the highest level. The highest level is chairman. I never got that far. I had over $10,000 worth of comps on my card, but then I got put on their DNI list, which stands for do not invite. And so suddenly the mailers quit coming in, and without the value of the mailers, it wasn't worth it to me anymore. So I quit playing.
Okay.
Well, that's the kind of thing that I would do.
So our next question comes from Pro Bob Tail Driver, and this is a Keno question. So I know several Keno players making hundreds of thousands by sticking to certain patterns. 7-spot usually hits by 2,000 draws. Why don't you talk about this as a working strategy? It feels like it's better than any game in the casino.
I've never heard of this strategy before, but it doesn't make any difference what pattern of numbers you pick on the card. The odds in Keno are determined by the pay table, and those are typically set to about 90%, maybe 92%, and you just can't beat that. The pattern doesn't matter, and this sounds like another myth to me.
So, would that be for all Keno games? Because is that just the Keno video poker games, or is that Keno where you're in a restaurant playing Keno?
I assumed he was referring to video Keno, but what I just said applies equally both ways.
Okay.
Except live Keno only returns about 75%.
Ah, I knew they were different somehow. Okay, sounds good. So it's actually better to do the video poker one. So our next question comes from Mick. What's better for a low roller, playing $15 with 6 to 5 or $50 with 3 to 2?
Well, I have to say $50 at 3 to 2. Now, maybe what he's asking is this: which way is the expected loss per hand more? Which would be a good question. So let's work that out. So let me go to Excel real quick here. Okay, so the probability of a blackjack is about 4.7%. So the probability of a winning blackjack is about 4.6%. And if you go from 3 to 2 to 6 to 5, that's like losing 0.3 of a unit every time. So that is an increase in the house advantage of 1.35%. So let's say that the house advantage is, with all the other rules, let's just say that it's 0.7% if at 3 to 2. So it's going to be, it's going to be about, it's going to be about 2.05% paying 3 to 2. So at a $50 bet, at a 0.7% house edge, the expected loss per hand is 35 cents. At $15 a hand, paying 6 to 5, the expected loss per hand is 31 cents. So that's interesting. Yeah, the player will actually lose less betting $15 at 6 to 5 than $50 at 3 to 2. And I hate to say anything that sounds like it's good to pay 6 to 5. If you're a $50 player, you're going to get comped much better. You're going to get, I would say, more entertainment value for your play. Why do people gamble to begin with? I think that they are paying for volatility. They're paying for excitement. They're paying for those little dopamine rushes when you win. And those rushes are going to be better if you bet $50 than 15. So I hope that answers the question. It was a good question. And yeah, let's go on to the next one.
Sounds good. So this is from Damien. Mike, can you explain how an ASM machine in blackjack can have the same odds as a hand shuffle game?
So ASM stands for automatic shuffle machine. For the benefit of the other readers, what an automatic shuffler does is it takes a bunch of cards, let's say 6 decks, and it puts it in a machine and it shuffles them. And tables that use an automatic shuffler will tend will have two sets of cards, and they'll say have a one set that has blue backs, and the other set will have red backs. So let's say that they're dealing the red cards. At the same time, the machine will be shuffling the blue ones. And when they reach the cut card, they put all the red cards aside, take out the blue cards, put the red cards in the machine, and then deal the blue cards. And these automatic shufflers, I'm not an expert at it, but I have confidence that they do a good job, and that they shuffle just as randomly as a good hand shuffle. And but he said, "Can you explain how?" Well, it's hard to. I mean, it's hard to prove that they shuffle well. But I would ask you, what is the evidence that they don't shuffle well? And if they didn't shuffle well, then advantage players would be figuring out how are they not shuffling well, and they would take advantage of that. In fact, they already do that. And this is not something I know a great deal about, but the shuffling machines I've heard will make, sounds and things like that really good players can listen for. And sometimes they can, say, track the location of an ace even through an automatic shuffler. But again, this is not something I know that much about. But I think for the recreational player, their shuffle is just fine.
Cool. And my apologies for any noises you guys can hear from Pip. She's having a little bit of a problem right now. So do you want to apologize for any noise that she's making? Next question comes from Oaksterful. I want to move to Vegas and become a dealer, but there are so many casinos. What should I avoid?
I'll let you answer that one, Heather.
Okay. So coming to Las Vegas to be a dealer is awesome. There are about over 150 casinos here to choose from. The casinos I would probably avoid would be the ones in the bad area, any area that, might have high crime. It's going to depend on your location and also what shift you're working on. So, for example, if you are working, let's say, graveyard shift on Fremont Street, that might be a little more dicey than if you're working, say, day shift at Samstown or something on Boulder Highway. So it really just depends on location and time. If you guys have any questions about that, or if you want to go more into topic, feel free to email me and I could help you figure out what casino is best for you through email. But yeah, we have a lot of choices to choose from. So,
okay, thanks, Heather.
No problem. Our next question comes from Source Keen. I played craps online and tracked rolls. After 800 rolls, 7 had come up over 20% of the rolls. Is that sample big enough to make it suspicious? And what sample or size or percentage would seem somewhat suspicious?
Okay, let's do some quick math here. So he had 800 rolls, and the 7 came up over 20% of the time. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to Excel here. All right, so the probability of a 7 is 1 in 6. So in 800 rolls, he should have seen 133 sevens. Now he actually saw over 20%. So I'm just going to put in 20%. So he's let's just say that he actually saw 160. So he saw 26.7 more 7s than you would expect. What are the chances of that? So the variance is going to be 800 times the probability of a 7, which is 1/6, times the probability of not a 7, which is 5/6. So the variance is 111. So you take the square root of that to get the standard deviation, and that is 10.54. So So these results are 26.7 divided by 10.54, which equals 2.53 standard deviations higher than expectations. So what's the probability of being that far off in the bell curve? The answer is hold on. So for that, you use the norm_s_inv function in Excel.
We need a drum roll. Drum roll, please.
Okay, norm_s. No, I use use the norm_s distribution function. 2. The probability of being that far off of expectations, shall we say above expectations or more, is 1 in 175. So there you go. The probability of seeing 20% of your rolls being 7s or more in 800 rolls is about 1 in 175. So is that suspicious? It would depend on the software being used. If it were something name brand like Betsoft, I would say, yeah, probably fair. But if it were something rinky-dink, then I would probably keep playing. I might be suspicious. It's certainly not enough to make any accusations, but it is worthy of gathering more evidence. So I welcome you to contact me through my site to discuss this further. If you do collect more data, I would be interested in hearing the results.
So at what point do you think it would be suspicious? Like, would 30% be suspicious? Would 35? Like, what?
Well, the way I like to phrase that question is, how many standard deviations away from expectations do you need to be before you, shall we say, make a formal accusation? And, that's a really good question. I might look at, is there other evidence that this casino is cheating in other ways? But I personally would like to see at least 4 standard deviations away. The chances of that are 1 in 31,574. Yet, that could still happen. Once I got to 4 away, I probably would keep playing to gather more evidence. I might try to get to 5. The chances of getting to 5 standard deviations away are 1 in about 3.5 million. So I would be really comfortable if the results were 5 standard deviations away in pointing my finger and say that place is cheating.
Good to know. Cool. So our next question comes from Ellie. Any updates to the Easy Bach Dragon count?
Oh, I forgot to look into that. Yeah, I'm afraid no updates there. The Easy Baccarat Dragon count. So I thought that is already covered, though, by Elliot Jacobson. So let me go to my site real quick here. So I'm going to click on the main page, and then Baccarat, and then I'm just going to search on Dragon. Yeah, card counting the Dragon bet in Baccarat. And yeah, I have a really outstanding page on this. It's, I think, but yeah, all this research was done by Elliot Jacobson, so full credit to him on that. However, I've done the same kind of analysis on card counting the Panda 8. So yeah, go to my website for that.
So when they go to your website, would they go to the search function and then just put in?
Yeah, you can just search on Dragon Bet and you'd find it.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so
let me just say that before we go on, that the short answer there is that card counting the Dragon and the Panda is really, even though it's countable, it's a really small advantage. You hardly ever get an opportunity where there is an advantage. And in my opinion, it's not a practical use of time for the advantage player. I think there are much better plays out there.
Okay.
Okay, next.
Next up is from LV Jamie. Are Baccarat rules the same at all Las Vegas casinos?
Some of them have commission-free Baccarat where, much like the last question just mentioned, where the banker pays even money, except if the banker wins on 6, then it pays only 1 to 2. There's also the version where a banker winning on a 3-card 7 is a push. But most of them are still the conventional version with the 5% commission. But other than that, all the basic rules are the same. Some of them will have different side bets, but yeah, the only important distinction is how they achieve their advantage on the banker bet.
Is that with the 3rd card rule?
No, because the banker wins more than the player does, so they have to do something to not, to account for the fact that it wins more than half the time. So you can either only pay 95% of the full even money, or you can take some situations and only pay half or nothing at all.
Okay. So our next question comes from Booty Bandit. Love that name. My friend and I are coming out to Vegas and it is our first time. Are there any good player card bonuses like match play at table games?
That's a good question that I'm afraid I don't have a good answer to. I don't really keep up very well with what the different casinos are doing in terms of new incentives for new players. In my opinion, they don't really give you a whole lot for signing up for a card, but they tend to be real generous with new players. For example, if you go to a casino, sign up for a card, and play just a little bit, I think they're going to be pretty generous with their offers to you in the mail to try to get you to come back, and especially with the mailers. So, I mean, I don't think that I'm revealing any big secret here, but what some professional gamblers do is they get their friends to sign up for cards, and then they play under these other cards a little bit, and they tend to know what level of play will get what mailer. And so they play up to a certain level of play. The people that signed up for the cards get the mailers, and then the person behind the whole operation will collect the free play.
Cool. Okay, so our next question, actually, before we get to that, thank you guys so much for sharing your titles. Really do appreciate it. Jim says, shuffle through this would be a good title. Yes, I totally agree. I might steal that from you, just to beware. Next question would be from Jim. Looks like that's an answer, not a question. There we go. There's the question. Do bubble craps payouts pay out the same rate as table craps? And if so, it would seem like a discreet way to pay the don't pass.
Yeah, the rules are the same. There might be some very fine distinctions, like how do they get the commission, say, on the buy bets, stuff like that. But would there be a discreet way to play the don't pass? Just play it. You don't need to be discreet about it. So maybe I don't understand the question, but yeah, the rules are basically the same, and the don't pass is still going to have that 1.35% house advantage. So just go ahead and play it. It's not like you're committing a crime.
Okay, awesome. Next one is from Bert. Do you think a first-time Vegas gambler should try table games or slots?
It really depends on what's more fun for you. I would absolutely say nobody should play the real slots. If you like the machines, then you should be playing video poker. So, so I would rephrase the question as should they play video poker or table games? And yeah, there again, it should come down to asking yourself, why am I playing? If you like the social aspect of gambling, then you should probably play the tables. If you just like the adrenaline and like to be left alone in your little bubble, then you should probably play video poker.
Very good. Next up is from Mo the Cat. Last time you made a reference to pickleball. What is that?
Oh, well, let me show you my pickleball stuff. So pickleball is like tennis, but it's played on a court about half the size.
Oh.
And it's usually played with doubles. And you play it with a racket that looks like this. In fact, Heather, you might like the name of this racket. It's Amazing Aces.
Oh, cool.
Not Vegas Aces, but Amazing Aces. And this is a pickleball. In fact, if there's any pickleball experts watching, I get into this argument all the time with my pickleball circle of friends. So you see that this orange ball has bigger holes than the yellow ball. And I claim that this is an outdoor ball and this is an indoor ball. And the reason the holes are smaller with an outdoor ball is it tends to be windier. And the wind will catch a ball with bigger holes better. But when I play with my friends, at first, and we play outdoors, and at first all I had were these balls and I didn't know the difference. But then one time I was playing and some real serious pickleball players were like, why are you playing with indoor balls outdoors? I said, I didn't know it was an indoor ball. And he said, and then he showed me a ball like this. So then I got a bunch of these balls and I took them the next time we played, and all my friends were like, I hate these balls. I like the balls with the big holes. And and we get, but then there's like a mixture of the balls on the court and I don't know, the same argument comes up every single time.
Which ones are your favorite?
Anyone knows for sure what's the difference between these two balls, let me know.
Which one's your favorite?
I like this one. Because outdoors, it plays faster. And it, like I just said, it doesn't catch the wind as much, so it's going to go straight when it's windy. And I think it makes for a funner game.
Cool.
By the way, pickleball is great. It's a really fun game. I think that if you're playing, just to have some fun, I think it's better than tennis, because in pickleball, I think the ball will go across the net a lot more times than in tennis. So you're spending a better percentage of your time actually hitting the ball back and forth, as opposed to walking around and picking up balls like in tennis.
Very cool.
Yep, and it's becoming pretty popular. I'm seeing more and more pickleball courts out there. So I'm a big pickleball advocate and what's the word I'm looking for? Evangelist.
Nice. So we
got 5 minutes left here.
We have another fun question for you about the same line. Mm-hmm. So which is the best hike, in your opinion, in the Las Vegas area?
Okay, I love Bridge Mountain. This is a hike that goes through a natural arch. That's why they call it Bridge Mountain. And it's very steep. It involves a lot of hand usage. And if you looked at this from a distance, you would say there is no way you could climb that thing without ropes and cams and pitons and all that stuff, but you can. There is always a way up the next part. And this is not really a hike. It's more of a route. There's not a marked trail for this. You have to know where to go. And the road to the trailhead is in really bad shape. Not only do you need a four-wheel drive, but you need a good four-wheel drive car and be a really good driver to get up it, or you can just walk the road. But this is a great hike. You're probably not going to find a map for it anywhere. If you want to be limited to some things that are more of like a trailed hike, then I would probably go with one of the hot springs. I would either go with Gold Strike Hot Spring or Arizona Hot Spring. Fair warning that I hear that a flood washed out the old ladder that you need to climb up to get to the Arizona Hot Spring, and somebody replaced it with a shorter ladder. And I hear this short ladder doesn't go up the full way, and it's kind of dangerous to get from the top of the ladder to to where you're supposed to go next. Haven't actually seen it, but I hear they're planning to put in a good ladder back. I don't recommend doing these hikes in the summer because it gets hot down here. And in fact, the Arizona Hot Spring, they closed the parking lot for that because people have died of heat exhaustion getting to that in the middle of summer.
Yep.
So yeah, that is my answer there.
And just to add to it, the hot springs that you spoke about, the Gold Strike and the Arizona ones, don't get that in your eyes, don't get that up your nose, don't get that in your mouth. There's like a brain-eating bacteria or whatever that is in the water, so you don't want to get that in you. Just to let you guys know.
Okay, let me kind of correct you on that.
Okay.
This brain-eating amoeba, is only going to possibly enter your brain if you completely submerge your head. I think that the main way it might get in is through your nose and ears. So I think that it's safe if it goes into your mouth because your digestive system will probably kill it. So I would say you don't need to be too fearful of this. Don't completely submerge your head.
Well, when you're going up the ladder you were talking about, there's water coming down. And if you look up while there's water coming down, that could definitely get in your nose that way. So it's not just submerging it.
Well, I think people would have enough common sense to not look up if water is splashing in their face because it would get in their eyes. So
people in common sense.
Well, I would like to think that people exercise common sense when they're hiking. So, and for climbing ladders in general, you should be looking where you are right now. And yes, you should also make sure that everything looks stable. But if you're climbing a ladder in the rain, I don't think you should be looking up and getting water in your eyes.
And another thing to add too is Icebox Canyon is a really, really fun trail to hike. If you do Icebox Canyon in December, January, right after we have this big snowfall, a week after that, the snow is melting and you have this gorgeous, gorgeous waterfall at the end of Icebox Canyon. And it's just so amazing.
Okay. And to expand on that, let me get a good card.
Okay. We got a card.
Okay, these cards aren't really demonstrating this, but okay, at Red Rock, there's all these natural sandstone formations, but between them they have canyons, and it's really fun going into these canyons where it's nice and cool, and you have to climb over all these boulders, and it's a lot of fun. But the great thing about Icebox Canyon is it's close to the parking lot. With the other ones like Pine Creek Canyon and Oak Creek and First Creek, you have to probably hike, at least 20 minutes just, in the desert before you start to get into the canyon. With Icebox Canyon, it's probably only 5 minutes.
Yep.
Too.
Okay.
Did you have some technical difficulties there?
But I got back. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Is everything okay?
Yes.
Okay, we're good. And on that
I hope you guys at least heard that. And I see that it's 4:01. Do you have any last looking good questions, Heather?
The next question that we had was from Mick. Given a randomized shoe, what difference would the automatic shuffle machine make? The cards are never sorted or touched, so it wouldn't make too much of a difference. What are your thoughts on that?
Boy, a lot of shuffler questions today. Okay, what I think he's referring to is that in Baccarat, in the games where the players can touch the cards and bend them and rip them, the cards come pre-shuffled. So there's no need to shuffle them again. They're good to go. So yeah, an automatic shuffler machine should not make any difference if the cards are already pre-shuffled by the card maker.
Okay.
And let's let that be the last question.
Sounds good. And just so you guys know, the earlier you get your questions in, the more likely it will be that we'll answer them. And feel free to come in extra early to get your question in first, so that way you know for sure we will answer it. Yep. So, Mike, when is the next time we're going to do another live stream like this?
Let's see. So 2 weeks from now is May 6th, but that is going to be, I think I can still do it that date. There is a big license plate show in Las Vegas every year. Mm-hmm. It's the second biggest show in the whole country. And this year, let me just do a quick search here. So I'm searching on Nevada Silver State.
Yeah, with COVID, we're just starting up conventions again.
Okay, so go to alcasilverstate.org if this interests you. And I see that is May 6th and 7th. And yeah, I really want to go to that. So let's make it May 13th.
Okay, sounds good. May 13th.
Okay, and thank you, Heather, for being my co-host, and thanks, audience, for attending and for your questions. Sorry we couldn't get to all of them. And so
next time.
I'll see you in 3 weeks.
Sounds good. See you in 3 weeks.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.